Okay, the second video now that we're going to get into on stress and talk about now we got the introduction out of the way is we're going to get into the four major types of stress. And as we get through these, one of the things you're going to do in class is you're going to be doing some activities on trying to figure out from based upon some examples that you're going to get, some scenarios, what kind of stress are these people having. And it seems like it's really easy, but a lot of times students get kind of confused on some of these. Okay, so first off, we got frustration. Frustration is a pursuit of some goal that gets thwarted or can't be successfully completed. An example of this, let's say that you're hungry. Okay, so you're watching this video and all of a sudden you get hungry, and maybe you're over in the library watching this because you don't have a computer in your room or something like that, or maybe you're in your room, but you want to go down and you want to get something to eat. So you go down to the vending machine, you put money in the vending machine, you hit the button, round goes your Dorito bag, and all of a sudden it doesn't fall down to the very bottom. It gets stuck. That's a frustration. It's something that's usually brief. It's not going to last very long in terms of overall scheme of things going on in your life, and usually it's very insignificant. Now at that time, you would say, no, I'm very, very hungry. Those Doritos are very significant to me. I want my damn Doritos. But overall, when you're looking at the grand scheme of your life, missing those Doritos is not going to probably cause you anything major. Okay, but at the time, frustrations can be very, very difficult because it's something that you want, but you can't get it filled. So another example there, you're at traffic jam, car problems, you can't start your car, your battery's dead, you got a flat tire, you can't find your cell phone, you can't find your keys. We could go on and on and on. There are millions of different kinds of frustrations out there. But the key thing you need to remember about them is that they're brief and usually insignificant. All right, the second type is conflict. Conflict is where two or more incompatible motivations or behavioral impulses compete. Now, it sounds pretty technical there, but it really isn't. Basically, a conflict is when you got two things that you're wanting, and that's what makes them incompatible motivations, but you can only have one. You can't have them both. That's what causes the conflict. There are three kinds of conflicts that we deal with in psychology. There's the approach avoidance, and then avoidance. Now, when I go through these, if you don't like the word approach or avoidance, just cross it out on your notes there and put good, bad. So let's start with the first one, approach. That would be good. So in this case, you have two good goals that you see very attractive to you, very good to you, and you want them both. However, that's what makes it a conflict. You can't have them both. You only get to choose one. So for guys, you have two beautiful girls who are asking you out on the same night, same time to go on a date. You have to choose between one of the two. You don't get to go out with one at 6 o'clock and then go out with one later at 10 o'clock. You have to choose between the two girls. Ladies, same thing. You have two guys who are asking you out and you have to make that choice. That's a conflict. Another type of conflict is avoidance. This is where you have two unattractive goals. So now you are broke. You have no money. You can't spend anything. You can't go anywhere, can't do much. Or you could go get yourself a job and make some money. Neither one of those are very attractive choices. You really don't want to be broke. You want to have money, but you don't want to go to work. You have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. Either you're going to go to work and make some money, or you're just going to be flat broke and never get to do anything. They're both unattractive. You have to make a choice. That's a conflict. The last one is approach avoidance. Now this one gets a little tricky. Here you want to have the approach, but you don't want the avoidance part of it. But you have both aspects connected together. So your boss tells you that you've been doing a great job at work and he wants to give you a $3 raise. Great. However, he wants to change your hours now because you've been doing so well, and he's going to have you open every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to do that, but you don't get the bonus unless you get the hours to go along with it. That's approach avoidance. So conflicts are something that we have. Usually we get a conflict maybe one or two a day at the most, more likely during your average day. Frustrations, boy, you could have one of these, two of these per hour, and sometimes more. And you know, you guys have been around, you know that with a frustration, it tends to just build up. You get one, and all of a sudden, here comes another one, here comes another one. It kind of like they gang up on you. Frustrations are something that we get, all the time. Conflicts, not so much. Maybe one or two a day at the most. Okay, your third type is now change. Change is where you see a very noticeable, that's why it's in red there because it's a key word, alteration in one's living circumstance that requires adjustment. Noticeable means something big, something large, something dramatic. Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe did a study on this, and we're going to do this in class again. It's called the Social Readjustment Rating Scale, in which you take 43 life-changing events that they basically came up with, and they have the people go through and pick which of those events have they had so far, and then there's a point total that goes along with each changing event. Based upon your point total, the higher your score, the probability is that you've been having more of a physical illness or more of a mental illness because of the stress that's being put upon you from this, or an emotional crisis that you've been having because of the stress that's been adding up upon you all the time. Change is something that happens maybe once, maybe twice during a given year. It's not like you have, huge major changes going on all the time. Hopefully not. One of the other big things about change that's very important to remember and get down is right here, that this study between Holmes and Rahe concluded that it is the stress that we deal with the best. Of all of the 4 stresses of category, we deal with this one the best. We can handle it best. The problem with change is that it also has the longest lasting effects. That's the negative. It does tend to be a type of stress that is going to be going on, and the effects of it in our bodies is going to be something long lasting. So that's the negative aspect of it then. All right, the last type of stress is dealing with pressure. Pressure is an expectation or a demand that we behave in a certain way, and that's another key word there is behave. There are 2 types of pressure. One is the pressure to perform, and the other is the pressure to conform. Okay, and that again is important 2 words there to get down. Perform means to act or to get something done responsibly. Conform is to change or shift. So examples, okay, if I have pressure to perform, that might mean that deals with sports, basketball, football, that kind of thing. A play, being able to perform in the play very well, being able to perform at a job interview, that could be a high pressure, those kinds of things. Maybe my first date that I'm going on, that would be a high pressure performance. Okay, conform is when someone wants you to shift, alter, or expand yourself. So here you've been dating maybe someone for a long period of time, and they're trying to get you to change your behaviors, to change how you do things. That would be pressure to conform. Maybe you're someone that doesn't like to study and doesn't like to do homework, but now all of a sudden in college you realize that you got to, or you're going to fail. That would be a pressure to conform. Okay, the last one that's kind of been added to this over the last couple of years is the pressure of competition. Now, competition is not a bad stress. It is a very good stress to have. And basically, this competition stress is one that psychologists have added over the years because they're trying to get more into the good types of stresses rather than always the bad types of stresses. The pressure of competition, don't just think of sports. Competition with this, it could be dealing with all kinds of things. This could be dealing with academics. It could be dealing with a job. It could be dealing with relationships. It can be dealing with all kinds of ideas that we get into. And it's one of those things that we compete either against ourselves to try to improve and get better about ourselves, or we might intend to compete with others sometimes with things. But it is a stress, and it is a good stress that can cause you some good health effects if you are able to deal with it pretty well. Okay, so those are the 4 major types of stress then to go through, and that's your second video. And then the next thing we're going to get into is how does stress start to affect your body.